Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update. Join the only official Telegram channel of RAU'S IAS Study Circle to get relevant material and important updates. Hello everyone and welcome to Daily News Simplified, your one-stop solution to detailed analysis of current affairs which are published in the Delhi edition of Hindu newspaper. Articles dated 1st of October 2021 are listed on your screen and the time stamping for these articles is given in the description box. So let us begin with the first article itself. So the first article for today's discussion was published on page 6 of Delhi edition Hindu newspaper. This article actually explicitly talks about the hunger status in India and some of the way forwards. The context of the article clearly states that there is a need to put more effort and funds to fight the rising trend of hunger in India. Now the question arises that what is hunger, how it is being caused in India, and why hunger is rising in India consistently. When it comes to the relevance of this topic, well, the relevance from the prelims perspective comes from the important government schemes, important data, trend on hunger. As far as mains is concerned, it is important for your general studies paper 2, where schemes related to vulnerable section is asked and some of the issues related to poverty and hunger also make up the questions. So let us go into the content. The content for today's discussion would include hunger and National Family Health Survey 5, key terms which are used in the form of hunger and poverty, important provisions of Pradhan Mantri Poshan Abhiyan, India's status on hunger, reasons behind rising hunger in India, various reports and data, and lastly we will look into some of the government initiatives along with the way forward. And we will also go into one of the practice questions related to this topic. The practice question which we will put up for today's discussion is this. Hunger and malnutrition is taken a huge toll on India's demography. State the current status of hunger in India along with what causes hunger and what measures have been taken to fight against the hunger. After this discussion, we will be in this position to answer this question clearly. So let us start with the what is National Family Health Survey is saying. Well, National Family Health Survey is a large-scale multi-round survey which is conducted on a sample basis. Sample basis here simply means we'll take a single household out of entire colony or a society. It is actually opposite to what we call as census, because census means counting each and every head in the society. So sample survey is undertaken throughout the India, that is all the states and 4 union territories. This survey is conducted by International Institute for Population Sciences, headquartered at Mumbai, which is functioning under the Ministry of Health, Family Welfare. Well, the first survey was conducted in 1992, followed by 1999 in 26 states of India. But now this has been extended to all the states in the country, given the criteria that we have seen a rise in the number of states across the country. The recent survey which was conducted was at 5th position or the 5th National Family Health Survey. Till now we have conducted 5 in total. The survey actually provides the basic details on the fertility level in the country, child and infant mortality, practice of family planning and adoption of contraceptives, maternal and child health, reproductive health, nutrition level both in children and the women, situation of anemia in women especially, and lastly the utilization and quality of health and family planning services across the nation. The objective of conducting this survey is simple and straightforward. They are collecting data in order to provide the same for the policymakers and program implementation. Take the case of Niti Aayog's action agenda, in which Government of India is targeting number of parameters to be achieved in a particular threshold in the future. However, that policy or that program is incomplete without authentic data. And this authentic data as far as health is concerned is provided by a National Family Health Survey conducted under the Ministry of Health. The second important objective is to provide information on important emerging health and family issues. Let's take the example of population and assume that Government of India is planning population control strategy. Now, what happens in that case? The most important thing is that Government of India will not be able to come up with a logical strategy until and unless they have data to base their arguments. And this data and this information is provided by the National Family Health Survey at national level. This survey is funded by USAID, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundations, UNICEF, United Nations Fund for Population, and of course the Ministry of Health. Given all these parameters, now let us look into what this survey is actually talking about, which was also mentioned in the article itself. Well, the key finding of this survey says, well, this is important for both your prelims as well as your mains examination. So you can quote these facts in your introduction as well as body part in your mains answer writing when there is a question related to malnutrition, health and other parameters. Well, according to this sample survey, India's sex ratio is rising, which is a good sign. So as per this survey, the sex ratio in some of the states is even higher to 952. On the other hand, we have some dark data also where sex ratio at birth is below 900. And that too a surprise in some of the southern states and northern states like Telangana, Himachal Pradesh, Goa, Dadar and Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu. Well, this survey also provides an insight to a very alarming fact that there is a rise in child marriages to those states which are assumed to be socially advanced. And this includes your Tripura, Manipur and Assam. When it comes to the malnutrition, survey has said that due to COVID-19 crisis and the pandemic along with the lockdown, the malnutrition in the country has worsened. As far as stunting goes, it also increased in about 13 states out of 22 states where this survey on stunting was undertaken. The same is true with the worsted kids. They have also been increasing across 12 states out of the 22 surveyed. The reason for serving only 22 states as far as stunting and worsted is concerned because there are some states in India where stunting and malnutrition is negligible. This includes states like Goa, union territories like Delhi. Similarly, we have the issue of overweight. This overweight is also part of malnutrition. Because as per the classification, malnutrition can be classified into three. The first one is overweight or overnutrition, which is mostly seen in urban areas. The second is undernutrition. And the third one, which is also making the headlines, is lack of micronutrition. So, as far as all these three are concerned, we are moving to a dismal position. Now let us look into some of the key terms related to the population, health and malnutrition in the country. The first one is sex ratio at birth. All these terms are important for your prelims examination as well as mentioning in the mains examination for your introduction and sub-introduction. Well, sex ratio at birth is defined as number of female who were born per 1,000 male births. This indicator is used to show that what is the son preference in the society when it comes to the sex selection. Second one is stunting. It shows the impaired growth or lack of growth which is required for a healthy child to observe. Then comes the worsting, which shows low weight for a height. So low weight for a height also is one of the criteria to define the malnutrition among the children. Then we have infant mortality rate, which simply means number of death of children under the age of 1. So the basic difference between child mortality and infant mortality is based on the year. So if it is an infant, it is under the age of 1. If it is child, it is under the age of 5, also known as U5 in most of the parameters. So it is given under the live 1000 births in a year. The next term is your neonatal death. Well, this is the death of a child before the attainment of 28 days of life. Then we have total fertility rate, which simply means a woman can bear average number of children in her reproductive span. And the reproductive span of a female is between 15 to 49 years. The next one is your replacement level, which simply means the number of children required to replace their parents. It means if there are two parents in the family, they have two newborns or two children. When these two parents will die, they will leave two children in the society which will be replaced by them. The last one is your contraceptive prevalence rate. This is nothing but the number of women who are using at least one method of contraceptive to avoid unwanted childbearing. So, given these important terms in mind, let us look into what is the current situation of Pradhan Mantri Poshan Abhiyan. As we have seen at the beginning of this session, that UPSC in the mains examination can ask questions related to the welfare schemes for the vulnerable section, and women is one of the vulnerable section in Indian society. So given that scenario, it is important for us to understand the analysis of Pradhan Mantri Poshan Abhiyan as far as hunger status in the country is concerned. Recently, Government of India has decided to make Pradhan Mantri Poshan Abhiyan for providing one hot cooked meal in government and government aided school. Well, this simply means that now the Poshan Abhiyan will replace the midday meal scheme in the country, and the same will be extended to the entire nation for the next 5 years. As far as coverage of the scheme is concerned, well, it will cover around 11.8 crore students in the country. And from now onwards, they will also cover some of the Bal Vatikas. Now, the question is, what is Bal Vatika? Well, Bal Vatika is nothing but a preschool that was started recently by the government and included children who are under the age of 6 years. Why 6 years? Because this is the lowest threshold under right to education in the country. Right to education covers the children between the age of 6 to 14. It does not cover children below the age of 6. The scheme will also focus on developing the nutritional gardens in the school, providing supplementary nutritional to those children who belong to the aspirational district program, and especially those who are suffering from anemia. The scheme also provides an avenue to the state which wants to extend milk and egg in order to provide proteins to the children, and on this ground central government is all set to bear the additional cost. The scheme also focuses on the Tithi Bhojan concept, where the community participation program is promoted. It also provides nutritional aspects to ensure that the health aspect of the meal is being set. And lastly, there is a provision of social audit also. Now, all these points are important for your prelim examination. However, you can also quote these as an example to provide what government is doing in order to enhance the nutritional requirement in the country. Now, we should also have some learning about the erstwhile midday meal scheme. Well, it was functioning as a central sponsored scheme, so now the PM Poshan will also work on the same ground. It was launched in 1995 and it is world's largest school meal program. The objective was to provide universalization of primary education. Now, this is something which you need to remember, and this is the most important difference between the two. The objective of midday meal was to attract children to the schools. The objective of Pradhan Mantri Poshan Abhiyan is to make students nutritionally better or to remove the hunger which they are facing at the younger age. Now, this is the most important difference which should be there in your mind. The next being that the scheme provides food to the children between 6 to 14 years as per the right to education, fulfilling the same criteria fulfilled by the right to education. And like many other government schemes such as MG Narega, if food is not provided, the allowance or the food security allowance will be provided within 15 days of the successive month. So this should be clear in your mind while preparing for important scheme related to hunger. Now let us look into the basic causes of hunger in India. The first and the foremost is inability to buy a product or food because of the poverty. And why poverty is there? Because there is instability in the job market. The supply of labor is very high than demand of labor in India. And this is the reason why we are having two issues. One is your unemployment, and if there is some level of employment, it is basically underemployment, or the payment is below the expected returns of labor. That is, a person is getting payment less than what he is actually putting in work. Then we have the issue of food shortage and food waste. Well, as per Food and Agriculture Organization and your World Health Organization, India wastes around 25 to 30% of its food item, both raw food items as well as the cooked one. We also have the issue of poor infrastructure. So when a food is produced, it is either not reaching the final market, or if it is reaching the final market, the quality of food which actually make up to the final stage is not at good quality. Then we have the issues of unstable market. It simply means the price fluctuations, and when the prices goes to very high level, the poor people are unable to buy food at reasonable rates. Then comes the role of climate change. Here, the important issue is the frequency of rising floods as well as the droughts in India. This has caused the issue of food security across the nation. We have issues of war and conflict, and most important being your social conflicts, where people from one social strata are not getting the requirements of nutrition because the other part or the other strata of the society are going in the indulgence of luxuries. We have issues of nutritional quality because as per Food and Agriculture Organization as well as many other international food safety organization, the standard of food items produced in India are not meeting the basic requirement of nutrition. Then we have the discrimination not only by the government sector in terms of public distribution system, but also by the private sector through the means of exclusion. And lastly, the government policy is not symmetrical in its nature. The government is going for redistribution rather than the optimum distribution. Now, after that, let us look into what different reports has to say about India. Well, as per the Asian Development Bank, India has a population of 21.9% under the below poverty line based on 2011 data. And this data is based on Tendulkar Committee. And through this data, we can easily deduce the fact that higher ratio of poverty simply means that these people or this 22% population is incapable of buying high grade nutritional food items. Similarly, the bank says that the people who are employed and earning less than $1.9, which is also the poverty line according to the international agencies, is 21.2%. So, as high as 21.2% people in the country are earning less than $1.9 a day. Similarly, as far as child mortality and infant mortality is concerned, the data says that it is at 39. On the other hand, the Oxfam report of 2021 on hunger says that there are 20 million people who have been pushed into the extreme levels of food security because of the COVID-19 crisis. Similarly, as a pandemic has begun in the country, the number of people living in the famine-like condition has also increased sixfold, which is more than the 5,20,000 across the globe, and this is the most extreme form of hunger anywhere in the world. And lastly, the Oxfam report says that 11 people are likely to die every minute from acute hunger because of conflict, COVID-19 and the climate change. And as India has one world's second largest population, that too at extreme poverty, India is most likely to be affected to the extreme level. And lastly, the Global Hunger Index 2020 has explicitly put India on 94th position out of 107 countries, which simply means that there are only 13 nations in the world which have poorer status on hunger from India. And this is one of the most grim situations where India needs to work upon. Let us now look into what government has done. Well, we will first of all look into what India has done, and then we will look into what the world is doing. Well, the Indian government has launched number of initiatives, which includes the current program, that is the Poshan Abhiyan or National Nutrition Mission, and its strategy, where Niti Aayog is also making its effort. We have National Food Security Mission, where food including your cereals, pulses have been promoted and their output and productivity is targeted to be increased. We are also running the Zero Hunger program, where government is targeting to reduce the hunger to the zero. That is, no person in this country should go hunger while sleeping. We also have some initiatives at the state levels, like we have Indira Rasoi in Rajasthan, where cooked food items are provided at a negligible cost. NGOs like Akshay Patra are also paying their dues to help the hungry people get nutritional diet every day. their best participation is seen in midday meal program. On world level, we have programs like End to Poverty Initiative by International Labour Organization, Zero Hunger by World Food Program, also working in India. We have First Hunger First by Weltenberg. It is an important international organization, private sector, working to reduce the hunger. Then we have Zero Hunger Challenge by Food and Agriculture Organization. We have Feed the Future by the US government through Global Hunger and Food Security Initiative. Apart from India and the world, we also have Sustainable Development Goals under United Nations, in which the Sustainable Development Goal 3 calls to end the preventable death of newborn and the children under 5, reduce neonatal mortality by the year 2030, that is 15 years, because these goals were adopted in 2015. So if you are going to write an answer on the hunger, and if the question asks on the initiatives, these would be the one you can mention easily. Now, apart from these initiatives, let us look into what the United Nations has given as a way forward to end the hunger. The first one is, of course, the employment generation. So India is doing a lot on this front, including your MG Narega, your livelihood missions and others. We should also look into climate smart agriculture. India already has a scheme of NICRA. We also have to deal with the issue of forced migration. The best example could be the Biharis who are living in other urban towns like Delhi and Mumbai. If they are being forced to migrate to their native places, it goes against the right to food. Government should also look into fostering the gender equality, because if women are getting equal rights on food and accessibility to food, they will meet the requirement of better health standards. We should also look into reducing the food wastage. This can better be done through the improvement on supply chain. We should also reduce the disaster risk reduction, because the people who are under the threat of disaster are more likely to get poor, and once they are poor, they will get the food insecurity and very soon the hunger. Government should also look into hygiene and sanitation program, because this also reduces the disease burden of a person. Government can also look into controlling the infestation and the crop infection, because this will reduce the food wastage. We should also look into going for biofortification program. In this, the initiative has already been started by Food Safety and Standard Authority of India. And lastly, government should also improve on the food storage system in the country. The best example here is using silos to store food for longer period of time. Now, after this discussion, let us look into this question. Hunger and malnutrition has taken a huge toll on India's demography. Now, you know how to substantiate this question using the data which we have already discussed. Then you can already state the causes of the current hunger in the country and what measures we need to take, both the government initiative at international and national level, as well as the NGO and private sector initiative. So after this discussion, let us now move to the next article for the day. This article got published on page 7 of Delhi edition Hindu newspaper and talks about making political parties in India more constitutional in their functions. Why? In order to ensure in-party democracy, that is, every member of political party should have better representation and should be vocal enough. And it also talks about making them more transparent and decommunalize them. The issue which India is facing as of now is that there is high degree of radicalization among the political parties, and these political parties are very reluctant in order to bring under the right to information or the income tax brackets and even on the political funding of elections. The context of the article demands that political parties in India should become part of Indian constitution on the lines of the German constitution, where they find place in the constitution. Why? To abide by the constitutional principles. Let's take the simple example. We have a constitutional body of Union Public Service Commission, and this constitutional body actually finds a comprehensive place in the constitution. Hence, they abide by the constitutional means and methods. The same is true with the parliament. The same is also true with the other constitutional bodies, the office of Prime Minister, the office of President. And in fact, it also includes the important other offices such as Comptroller and Auditor General of India. But when it comes to the political party, they are largely absent. In this context, the relevance of this topic comes from your General Studies paper 2, where we will learn about the salient features or the Representation of People's Act. The content which we will put up for today's discussion will be surrounding the political parties and their challenges. We will look into the role of political parties, their functions, their challenges, legal position of political party in India, some of the important recommendation and what should be the possible way forward. So let us start with our discussion with the role of political parties. Well, political party is nothing but a group of people who come together to contest elections and hold power in the government. Well, apart from contesting elections and holding power in the government, political parties have no other agenda. They want to be in the government. They want to form the government. The members of the political party want to be member of parliament or the legislative assembly. They want to be in the council of minister. Well, they have some common policies and programs towards the society with a view to promote common good. Well, this may also include the welfaristic approach of these political parties. They try to persuade people on why their policies are better than others. And others here include the other political parties. For instance, the NDA or the National Democratic Alliance will say that their particular policies toward, let's say, poverty or a religion or the society is better than the UPA. And how they implement these policies? Via winning the popular elections under the constitutional limits. Well, they also go for reflecting the fundamental political division in the society. So, the division of thoughts between NDA and the UPA reflects the kind of social division on the basis of polity in Indian society. Well, some may say that the one party is more fundamentalist, the other one is less, the one is more secular, the other one is less, and so on and so forth. One of the important aspects of political party is that as they are part of the society, they involve the partnership. It is not a one-man army. So personality cult has largely remained absent in the political parties of India to the very recent. Political party in India and in many other democratic countries like US are known by the stand which they take. For instance, if NDA today takes the stance on protection of cow, it means that they will be termed as a pro-Hindus. On the other hand, if a political party does not support cow vigilantism, it will be taken up in the other interest of the society. As of now, based on the political philosophies, a political party consists a leader, active members and the followers. Well, followers could also be the citizens like you and me. Active members include those who are involved in the election process, in the publicity, in the marketing, collecting funds and others. And leaders are the top 1% of the political party who actually contest in the election and even try to win. When it comes to the major functions of political party in India, it consists contesting elections to the political post in your parliament, in your legislative assembly and even in the panchayat and municipal bodies. Put forward different policies and programs to the voters in order to appease them. Play a role in formulating laws. For instance, the NDA government presently brought their laws towards triple talaq. When they come into the majority, well, they also go for forming the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Ministers or the Chief Minister. And through this means, they can bring their own ideology in the form of lawmaking. Those political party which could not win the elections at the center or the state becomes opposition. And this opposition tried to bring accountability through the mechanism of upholding the transparency and the questioning mechanism in the parliament and the state legislation. The other functions include sharing the public opinion by forwarding its belief and ideologies. And even at the ground level, they help people to solve their problems through the local cadre of political parties. It increased the trust among the people about the political parties and helped them increase their voters' base. Now, coming to the challenges which political party faces in India. The first one is lack of inner party democracy. Well, democracy here simply means participation of each and every person in the political party. And if each and every person in the political party does not find place in policy making of the party and expansion of the political party, it is known as lack of inner party democracy. Well, this phenomena is generated when we find the personality cult in a political party. That a political party try to win an election on the basis of a single person or a single face. The second important reason found in Indian political party is succession among the political party member is hereditary. Political party are also going for increasing their muscle and money power in the elections to win the elections. And lastly, there is a criminalization of the politic among the political parties. Here, the best example could be taken from the state of Uttar Pradesh, where the highest number of political crimes are committed. Now, let us look into what is the legal position of political party in India. Well, as per the Representation of the People's Act 1951, Election Commission of India has a power to register a political party, but it does not have power to deregister a political party. Memorandum of the rules under this act says that political parties shall bear faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India as by law established, and to the principle of socialism, secularism and democracy and many others. However, as these are not directly part of the Constitution, they are not followed in letter and spirit. Along with that, they do not have any legal sanctions on the political party. When it comes to the challenges for the Election Commission, which is responsible for conduction of elections in India, well, Representation of the People's Act 1951 is silent on the role of Election Commission in regulating the internal functioning of the political party. So, Election Commission in India cannot ensure the inner party democracy or their particular conduct toward their selected candidates. So, even if today, let's say Congress or BJP wants to sack their particular member or want their particular member to give up the political party's membership, Election Commission cannot play any role over there. Similarly, there is no mechanism available to the Election Commission to go against a political party if a political party does not follow the principles enshrined in the Constitution. Let's say a particular political party is against the equality or secularism mentioned in the Constitution. So Election Commission is almost inefficient in order to deal such kind of provisions. Now let us see what recommendations do we have. 107th Law Commission report has said and recommended to introduce a regulatory framework for the internal structure of a political party and to ensure that inner party democracy is ensured along with the financial transparency and accountability. The second ARC report on ethics and governance has highlighted the importance of inner party democracy, considering that there is high degree of corruption when these party forms the over centralization. The best example is the issue of high command. You often hear this word in the news headlines that high command has actually sacked, removed or included a particular person in the political party without the choices of the majority members in the political party. And this is known as over centralization, which should be avoided as per the second ARC. Now let us see what way forward do we have. Now we can take example from Germany. A basic law in Germany says that political party will get a constitutional status in the country, and this will deal with status, rights, duties and functions of a political party. So if they commit anything wrong or illegal, they will do it against the constitution and they will be termed as unconstitutional. And following the same ground, the article mentioned in this newspaper says that there should be a separate inclusion of an article in the Indian Constitution to regulate the Indian political parties. With this discussion in place, let us now move to the next article for the day. This article got published on page 11 of Delhi edition Hindu newspaper and talks about the recent ongoing conversations and deliberations on free trade agreement between India and Australia that is planned to be concluded by the end of 2022. This statement was made by Australian minister who is on a bilateral visit to India. As per this statement, India and Australia are going to conclude their free trade agreement by the end of 2022. This will cover your services and goods, investment, and other aspects of the trade, including your procurement, energy, logistic, resources, transportation, and other standard and rules of origin. And this means the entire free trade agreement will be one of the most comprehensive India has ever seen with any other bilateral partner. Well, going beyond the context, we will go for the free trade agreements and other forms of economic integration that are being practiced across the globe. So, given that context from the prelims perspective, it is important for us to understand what is FTA and what are the advanced forms of FTA practiced in the global economy. Along with this, we will also look into important FTAs which India has signed in the past with many other nations. And finally, we will solve an important prelims related questions at the end of this article. So let us begin the discussion on economic integration. Well, these are the different forms of economic integration which are practiced across the globe in one form or the other. The first and the most nascent one is your free trade agreement. By the definition, it simply means that there are no tariffs or quotas within the group. Now, group can have two members, bilateral, it can be trilateral or can be expanded to many other number of countries. As far as bilateral is concerned, so India already has a free trade agreement, let's say with South Korea or maybe Sri Lanka. When it comes to the larger group, it could be extended up to 7 members or even beyond. The best example is South Asian Free Trade Agreement. Well, the limitation of free trade agreement says that it has negative integration. That is, it only talks about removal of the barriers, not on the promotion of exports. And most of the free trade agreements are signed in order to meet the requirement of World Trade Organization under Article 24. The next form is your custom unions. Well, custom union means common tariff and quotas among the members who are part of the union. Well, custom union simply means having a similar tariff and quota policies within the members and outside the members. This also goes with the same negative integration and requirement under the WTO. Then we have the common markets, on which there are no restrictions of factor movement, and the most important factor being your labor. If two countries are part of common market, let's say India and Nepal are part of common market, then the labor which is working in India can also go and work in Nepal, and the vice versa is also possible. There are no invisible barriers to trade. See, whenever we are moving from one level to the other one, what we are observing that the level of integration is keep on increasing, and each successive level will always have the features of the previous level. So in common market, we will have features of free trade agreement as well as the custom unions. The limitation of common market is that it does not have any positive integration. So there is no policy of promotion. Then we come to the common market in its extended form. In this, services are also included. So a person who is working in a BPO or let's say business process outsourcing in Bangalore can provide services to the United States without any barriers. The best example here is European Union, and it has some positive integration in specific sector policies, let's say IT sector. Well, India and European Union are in talks to bring bilateral trade agreement in order to promote the services across the border. The next stage comes the economic and monetary union. In this, we have a common market with some degree of harmonization of economic policy, the common currency and the monetary system. To your recollection, the common currency among different countries, if you can come up with an example, the best example would be the euro used by the European Union. It is a common currency used by the different nations. So they have common currencies and in fact the monetary policy. So if one country go into the recession crisis, all other members come up with the monetary plan to revive the sick economy. They also have a European Central Bank. This is the best advantage because in order to have a common monetary policy, you require a common central bank. They have similar policies on inflation and budget targets, and they have large number of positive integration in their policy. The last one and the top level of policy formulation comes from the complete economic integration. In this, we have monetary, fiscal, social, and counter-cyclical policy. It has policies which are supranational, which means it goes beyond a nation. So there will be a central authority which will decide on monetary and fiscal policy. This kind of integration is very hard to make because of this criteria, that is the fiscal policy. Well, fiscal policy, which include taxation, subsidies, and government expenditure, differ from nation to nation. And this is one of the reasons, despite having best of their efforts, European Union is incapable to bring fiscal policy in their economic integration. So the policy of complete economic integration as of now seems a distant dream. The most important negative impact of complete economic integration is that a problem in one nation will act like a dynamo effect to the other members of the group. And this is the reason why nations are reluctant in order to bring fiscal policies in their economic integration. Let us now let us understand the same with this diagram. As we can see, the level of integration and the complexities keeps on increasing as we move to one level to the other. The political union also shows the kind of political ideology. That means all the members in the group will have similar ideologies. Maybe they all are part of a same democratic process, or they are part of the same communism, or they are part of the same socialism and others. And this shows that there is a high degree of complexities and level of integration. As of now, what we are observing is that nations have moved to the best association to economic union. The best example is your European Union with their common currency euro. Now let us look into what free trade agreement India has actually signed by now. From this graph, you can easily see that India's economic integration started before 1970s. It kept on increasing till 1991. However, in between these 20 years, you can see that India has only signed 4 free trade agreements, in which 3 were actually part of multilateral deals, and only 1 was there where India has signed a bilateral agreement. After 1991, that is liberalization, privatization and globalization policy, India has signed number of free trade agreements, and most importantly being the bilateral free trade agreements. We have nations like Mongolia, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Chile, Korea, Japan and many others. However, it doesn't mean that groups were not there. We have Mercosur group, we have SAFTA, we have SAARC grouping, we have nations, we have groupings such as ASEAN with which India has signed free trade agreement. Now, given this discussion and important information, let us look into an important prelims related MCQ. Now read this question carefully and answer in the comment box. With this, now we will move to the question of the day. Now with this question of the day, now we come to the conclusion of today's Daily News Simplified. Thank you.